He
Sorry.
is almost 11. He he is entering in the pre adolescent or something like. So I realized or I noticed a lot of changes in his personality, in his feeling, in his way of act. So I can't avoid or I couldn't avoid relate to him.
It's a difficult stage for all of us. I mean, I still remember my time when I was 12 years old. It was really, really difficult. But, everybody gets to, go through this stage differently, because I suppose everybody adapts to these moments the way they can. And family is a big important element for this, obviously. How about you guys? What about the rest of you? Did you make any of this?
So, yes. No, sorry. So I was gonna say that I didn't link it to anyone in my family. I mean, I don't have any children. I do have nieces, but I didn't. But what I thought was what I started thinking about after watching the movie was how we as human beings deal with emotions, and how like people tell you that you have to be happy all the time, and that they don't respect that sometimes it's all right to be either angry or like sad. So it's like when they ask you, you have to say that you're okay. So they ask you, how are you doing today? I'm fine. And you're not going to expand on your feelings because people expect you to be happy. So after watching this movie, I think that what I became more conscious about was the fact that if I need to be sad for any reason, it's okay, and I don't have to feel ashamed for that.
Absolutely. That's one of the big teachings that the movie is trying to transmit, I suppose. I mean, I'm not saying it was a movie thought for teaching anything for children, but the teachings could be there if you take them like that. Which you said, Julio, it's really important, and it's one of the questions that we have included in the guidelines, in which the mother asks Riley to be happy for her dad. Well, we'll talk about that later, anyway. But all right, any other thoughts about it? Any other thoughts? Initial thoughts about the movie? Javi, Annie, Ali.
No, as Caro, I have two sons, but one is 11 years old, and as she said, it's the same, and the other is 5 years old, and those moments that he has of furious and and disgust, it's the same as the film.
Yeah, those are difficult. Those are difficult for the parents. I mean, difficult to manage, yourself. I mean, you have to manage yourself, because one gets angry too, or sad, or frustrated, and then you have to try to understand it's the child.
Yes, and it's very different in each stage of life
Yes,
the
it is.
emotions.
Absolutely. Yes. I totally agree with you. Let's head on then to our first question. The first question was related actually to the initial emotions that Riley has. When she was born, we get to see that the one in control of everything for those seconds was joy. But then sadness came along. Why do you think they were the first emotions to come up, to be in charge of Riley's mind?
Well, I think that joy and sadness don't have knowledge. You don't have knowledge when you were born, and you don't have fears and things. You know then when the time when you grow, no. When you grow, you know some things which makes you get fear of certain things and furious, and and when you were born, you don't know anything about life, and everything is new, and joy and sadness are like original emotions, natural emotions, the more natural emotions, no?
Yes, absolutely. They are like very active. Although I included this question in the trivia. Actually, there is a writer who believes that the most primitive emotion is another one, but we'll talk about that later anyway. Javi?
Yeah, I think that unlike joy and sadness, the other three emotions are limited to input from the outside. So I think that, well, joy and sadness come from your basic needs being met. And when you're a baby, you have very basic needs that if they are met, you're happy. And if they are not, you're sad. And as she's growing and she's experiencing the world and this input from the outside comes in, that's when the other emotions start developing.
Yes. She was happy. She was joyful initially. When she gets to see her parents' face, and they're all smiling because of Riley's birth, obviously. And then, like Javi said, she got sad. All of a sudden, 33 seconds after she was born, she got sad. Why? Why? Caro, Annie, Julio, why?
Because she or he was split for to his or her mother. The baby was comfortable or yes, comfortable inside the mother, and then after he or she went out, the real world how are waiting for is waiting for him or her.
Yeah, it must be really difficult for this being to experience everything all together, to breathe, to open their eyes, to listen, to taste. Everything must be so shocking. Yeah, I got to think about that when I held my daughter minutes after she was born, and it was like, okay, she's not. I mean, I was happy for the moment, but at the same time, I got to think, okay, she must be having a real difficult time to get used to everything. The bright lights at the hospital, and somebody holding you. She was not just resting there in the womb. She was now being held, and everything else. It must be so hard. So, and on all the things that they do to newborns, that they put some drops, some eye drops, so that they can, what is it that they do? They lubricate their eyes. Then they have to weight them in these cold metal scales. Then they have to cover them tight in this cloth. So it must be really uncomfortable and different from, like Caro said, being inside the mother's wound. Juli, Annie.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with Carolina in the sense that, I mean, you were inside your mother and you were very perfectly comfortable there, and then you go out to a place that you don't know. So, but I mean, I know that that the film is based on these two emotions, but I think that probably what a newborn would feel is kind of fear. I mean, more than sadness, but that's like something that I believe. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that.
Fear. Why fear, Julio?
Because everything is new, right? So you don't know anything. There are new smells, that are like people looking at you. You don't know those people. All you saw, I mean, you didn't feel anything. You didn't feel with your senses, right? With your five senses. And now you feel that all together, and it's like, what is going on? So that's why I say it must. I would, if I was a newborn, I would fear. Everything would be a menace for me.
You were really scared. Yes. One you get to reason. All of this is like, whoa, come on! All of these array of emotions, but not emotions, of sensations that you get from the outside world must be really a shock. Annie?
Yes, I agree with everybody about the appearance of sadness. Like, yeah, I think that sadness and fear like really are like combined in this, because it's also the fear that maybe you are separated from your mother and you don't know where you're going and what is happening, and also I think that sadness is like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah. And also I think it's a way of communication, happiness and sadness when you're like a newborn, because you can't speak, you can't say to your mother, I need to be fed up. So I think there's ways of being for communicating for little kids the emotions.
Yeah, very primitive, as we were saying. That this, I'm sad because I'm hungry. I cry. I'm happy because my mom is smiling at me. I smile, or I smile back. Then I'm sad again because I want to go to sleep. I mean, very, very basic emotions, like everybody was saying before. Must be difficult to be a human being, and well, I mean, it must be difficult to be conscious of that situation. Obviously, we're not. That's why we don't remember about them, which is quite. Some people say it's one of the brain's defense mechanisms, that we do not remember any of those things because it would be traumatic. Although, well, it is in the subconscious, they say. I don't know. I haven't studied psychology, although I try to. Julio.
So you mentioned that there is a basic emotion that was not either joy or sadness. What were you referring to?
Oh yes, like Javi said, fear. But you also mentioned it, Julio. Fear. But I suppose that when this writer, H.P. Lovecraft, said the most primitive, basic, and important emotion for all human beings is fear, I suppose he meant once you develop and as you grow, what keeps you safe is fear. And well, the film kind of says the same when we go through Riley's childhood, and I think Joy says fear kept her safe. She was going to come across these wires. She stopped because she was scared. And then you get to see fear going, careful, careful, step over it. And well, I suppose that's what he meant when he said that fear is very important. All right. Interesting conversation. But I'm talking too much, I know. I will try to shut up. Second question is the one that we were talking about before. Was it fair for Riley's mom to ask her to be happy for her dad? A rather straightforward question. Was it fair or wasn't it? It's straightforward, but obviously you know that I expect you to elaborate on the answer.
No, I think it's kind of selfish, but
Mm.
but it's fine, right? So sometimes we expect people to behave in a certain way, and we don't know what is going inside them. And I understand why her mother would want her to be happy, because
Mm.
you are, I mean, she was kind of in the middle. She was, I think she's very empathic in the sense that she wants to please her husband, but she also wants the best for her daughter, right? So even though it's selfish, how would she know? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to know what the parents think about this, because
All
my
right, we
mother
got.
used to say, if we're going this, like we're going to your aunt's house, behave. And I'm angry. I mean, I don't want to be here whatsoever, and so you expect something from me that I don't want to do, and anyway you're asking me to. It's not that you don't love me, it's just that you want me to do something that I don't want to. But well, I don't know, I am only a daughter, so I may not know what happens inside mothers and fathers' heads.
But what if you were in that situation, Julio? I mean, if you, I'm not saying that if you were a mother, but if you had to talk to this child and tell her to do something for the sake of the family.
Hell no. Sorry, but no. I mean, but I mean, again, I think it's very difficult. I mean, you are empathic, and we know after a lot of time. I mean, I know that the generations are not the same, and now we saw there are new pedagogies to raise children, like this respectful way of raising them, and so that's why I say, I mean, for me it's selfish. She's not being able to show that she's sad, but well, I mean, that's just my point of view, right?
All
Yeah,
right.
I think that there is a lack of acknowledgement that Riley might not be happy during this time, because it's a difficult change to move to another city, to make new friends, to go to new school. So I think that her mother could have acknowledged that this is hard, that she might not be happy now, but that she could try to be happy for her dad.
Yeah, absolutely. This request of putting a smile on for your dad, go on. It's not that hard. Do it for the family. It's selfish, like I said, like Kuli said. It's, yeah, you're not taking into account the girl's feelings. But at the same time, she didn't let her mother know. All right, her mother could have these insights, I suppose, as a mother, of realizing that blah blah blah. But well, if she didn't, and she's another human being, imperfect. Yeah. Or kind of, yeah.
I think that I agree with Juliet. I think that's maybe kind of selfish, but also I understand Riley's mom, because I think that she was also sad and she didn't want to show it up. So it's like, let's be happy. But I think for a child, it's better when if Riley was, yes, if she was like have the space for showing her emotions. Maybe just tell her like, okay, just tell me that you are sad and just hide this information from dad for he not being sad. But I think it's also, I think that probably the three of them were like really sad. Like you just saw in the end, like the three of them miss. I don't Missouri no,
Minnesota.
Milwaukee no, Minnesota. Like the three of them miss it. So why we don't share this sadness so we can be happy? It's maybe the instinct is like, let's show that we are happy and we are not sad. Like something that we usually do. All of us, I think that at some point we just prefer to show that we are happy and not that we are sad.
Especially nowadays with social media, right? Where people mostly show the world the good times they're having, how happy they are, and blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway. Very well, thank you, thank you. Ale, Caro?
Yes, I agree. I agree with everybody because in the end, they missed the three miss Minnesota and her friends and and their activities, and perhaps if they had speak about the emotions of each them and those things, perhaps she knows that her daughter was sad because of the situations, and it, the moves no, to move is difficult because of the things that Javier said, and those changes were difficult for them, for each of them, and they never have spoken about those things, and there are important things to share into the family when you move.
Yes, it's one of the most, psychologists say that it's one of the most traumatic situations or experiences that you can go through as a human being, part of a society, moving out, getting divorced or breaking up, or getting fired or losing your job. They say those are the top three worst experiences, or most traumatic experiences for people in general. And for a kid, for a girl like Riley,
Yes.
It's really difficult.
It's
really
difficult
hard.
for us, for them more difficult.
Yes.
I
And
think so. It's my point of view too, no?
I agree with you. And I agree with what Anita said, that she did not have that space to share, to express what she was feeling, how frustrated it was. And Anita mentioned that all of them were sad. Well, if you paid attention, the emotion in charge of the mother's mind was sadness. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that later when we get to the gendering of these emotions too. But, it's quite telling that sadness was in charge of mom. Caro?
Yeah.
Javi?
And especially this was difficult for them because we see that the moving truck wouldn't get there in time, that was delayed. His dad's job, he was supposed to start like 2 days later, he started right away. So all these factors that helped for them, for the parents to stress about it even more. So we don't get to see that in the case of the parents, but in the case of Riley, we see that these things are add stress to the situation, right?
Plus the dead mouse. The dead mouse in Riley's bedroom. No, was it the bedroom? No, I think it was in the dining room, whatever. But there was this dead mouse, which people say it's a reference to Ratatouille, but I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah.
Is it like an Easter egg also? I don't know that.
Well, this, I think you have not been part of the workshops where we talked about it, or were you? I think you were. All this whole, this whole Pixar multiverse theory. Well, some people say that there are many Easter eggs. Like I counted up to 12, but some of them are really far-fetched, so I didn't include any of them here in the workshop. Anyway, Caro?
Well, I agree with all of you in terms of maybe the mother acts a little selfish, and I think